Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the NFL DFS Slate Breakdown for Monday Night Football. We're going to go over it all for the two-game main slate. I'm your host, Tyler Weeman, and come join us at LINESTAR. One-stop shop for all your props, your DFS. You get it all for one low price. We also do have the free trial action. If you haven't tried us out before, come get 7 days free. Go through Android or iOS app store to download the app, get that 7-day free trial, and give us a try. A lot of people have. A lot of people like us. Maybe you will too. Eddie, what is going on? And welcome. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope your best ball had some days or had a good week, and your DFS lineups as well. Now, let's get into it a little bit. I actually want to start off by just going through the perfect lineups from the main slate yesterday, because I think it's kind of fun. The FanDuel perfect lineup. This is on LineStar. You can also get it on the app, but we had Jared Goff as the quarterback with Amon-Ra St. Brown run back. And then we had a good old Rome on the other side there. Two-man, good old NY stack. Baltimore D. Jonathan Taylor got it done, and James Cook as well. 5,900 for the salary. 258.26 was what scored there. And then over on DraftKings, very, very similar lineup, which is interesting. It's not that often that the perfect lineups are pretty much the same, but we had Goff, we had Cook, we had Taylor, we had Rome, Wan'Dale Robinson, Neighbors, Amon-Ra, Ravens. The only difference, we had Jake Ferguson over here, and it was Jawan Johnson on FanDuel. All in all, difference of, just a little bit. Jake Ferguson only 3,800 on DK, 49.9 was the salary, and almost a 280 score. Were those perfect lineups. I can't tell you enough how weird it is that both are almost identical. It just doesn't happen that often. Pricing's different, all that kind of stuff. Now let's get into the slate. We'll start off by the high owned. We'll go position by position and start off with some high owned and then maybe a pivot here. So our high owned, Justin Herbert, 5.9K. He is versus the Raiders. All in all, I mean, Herbert's obviously a great quarterback. 318 yards last time out with 34 attempts. And on 25 completions. I think the interesting thing here is he ran the ball 7 times. He obviously is healthy and leaning into that run a little bit more, which definitely raises his floor and his ceiling. You got to like that. Also, the Raiders haven't been great on D over the last year. So ranked 31st, allowing a ton of passing yards, 1.7 touchdowns per game. I think Herbert is clearly the top quarterback option with the higher game total at 46.5. And they are slight favorites at -3.5. Herbert's in a great spot. Next, we got Geno Smith. Only a little cheaper. I would way, way rather Herbert than Geno. I think these ownerships are going to shift a little bit where Herbert is much more owned than Geno, Stroud, or Baker. But right now they are coming in all a little flat here. Geno was fine in the first game. 362 yards, 34 attempts, 10 rushing yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. This offense just isn't quite as high-powered as the Chargers, even though they have, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Genty. They have some guys that can definitely bring some force here, but we also have the situation that Brock Bowers is questionable. While he is expected to play, we're really not sure with how it's going to go, how healthy he is, if he's going to be a full go or limiting snaps or what they're doing. But all in all, Smith or Geno is in a decent spot here. It is not a great spot, though. The Chargers defense can be a little stingy. While they're allowing a lot of pass attempts and touchdowns, they don't allow the most yards, 265 over the last 4. Last week, they allowed 258. 220 over the last 4. And last week was 258. The Chargers defense is decent. I gotta side with Herbert over Geno when it's only a $600 difference. My pivot right now, I would have to go is CJ Stroud at 5,500 between the prices of Geno and Herbert. While Baker is a great quarterback, he also probably has the toughest defensive matchup on this slate with 6,500 is his price. All in all, I like CJ in this spot. We've seen the Bucs being a pass funnel defense. They allow a ton of passes. They're 26 and allowing 243 pass yards. The only issue here is they are ranked second, allowing 1.1 touchdowns. I do question how good this Houston offense is. They couldn't really get much going against the Rams last week. The Bucs defense has its faults, but is still barely solid. And then you talk about the Houston pass catchers, and they got Nico Collins and then either rookies or just guys. So I think at 5,500 you can take some shots. Stroud likely goes low owned. There is some upside. But I think with the pricing considered, Herbert is clearly the number one option here. Now let's get over to the running back spotter. High owned, we got Bucky Irving, Marion Hampton, and Genty. These 3 are the highest owned, and they clearly should be. My only pivot really that I'm thinking about is Dare in this spot, and that is just because of the receiving upside. He played like 27% of the snaps, had 2 targets, 2 carries. He's the only guy really getting work here. Mostert was inactive. Zamir White had 3 carries, had kick return coverage, but he wasn't really involved. Sean Tucker had a little work. Rashad White, 2 carries, 1 reception. I just don't think anybody is really going to be able to put much out there outside of the 3 stud backs, being Bucky Irving, Marion Hampton, and Genty. So I think we kind of need to just eat the chalk here. Irving is not in the best spot. Houston D has been good. Didn't allow much rushing last week. And over the last 4, they haven't allowed much, but Bucky Irving is definitely the best NFL back at this point in everybody's career on this slate. Fine to go to him. Marion Hampton had a rough week 1, but he got a ton of work, 15 carries, 2 receptions. I do think Najee Harris will play a little bit more in this game, and the matchup is probably better here than anybody else on this slate. But there's questions of, how much he's really going to work. But I don't mind Hampton. It would also be interesting because it's a little leverage on your Herbert stacks that are going to be very high owned. Ashton Genty, 7K, 19 carries, did nothing with them, but we know this guy is a big time prospect. He's going to have some games, and if he's going a little lower owned than those other guys, I am absolutely fine taking some. The other thing is we know Pete Carroll is going to try and run the ball, and Genty is going to be the way to do it. It's also the higher game total, a little less ownership. I'm absolutely fine going there. Now let's get over to our wide receivers. We got Jacoby Myers, 61% owned, Nico Collins, and then Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, Keenan, Ladd. Both of them are going to be higher owned as Herbert stacks are up there. Liddell, go Raiders. It's interesting time for your Raiders, and I'm excited for you to see that you are still a Raiders fan even after the move, as you are an A's fan after that move. Good for you. With my Chargers, I could not do that. They moved to LA, and my thought was always I was a fan of them for the first name, not the second, and the first name changed. So I am still a free agent for a football team. I haven't really been able to go into fandom on that side since it. All right, so getting back to this, the Chargers, Allen, McConkey, they're going to be high owned. I mean, Herbert's going to be the highest owned quarterback. These guys are going to be there. Then you also have Quentin Johnson, who at 26% owned is a little leverage to him. He had a giant game last time. I do not think it's going to be the situation where he's just getting one-on-one deep down the field again, but it could happen, as, you kind of have to give your attention to Hampton and Allen and McConkey. And we've seen Johnson be able to win deep. So as a leverage option, I don't mind going back to him whatsoever. Ladd, I think he should probably be the highest owned receiver in this game, as well as Jacoby Myers. 4,900 for Jacoby Myers and a possible, hurt Brock Bowers is a steal. He got 10 targets last week. I think the targets are going to be there. I definitely like going his route. His issue has always been getting in the end zone, though. He has just kind of struggled to do that. He's great at getting targets, getting receptions and yards, but has struggled to get in the end zone. And but at 4,900, we don't necessarily need him to get in the end zone. He has a game like 10 targets for 897. He's probably optimal. Next, we got Nico Collins, 7,300. I think he has the biggest upside on this slate. We're talking about a pass funnel defense he's going against. They didn't go to him enough last week, and everybody knows it. He only had 5 targets. Now, it was a much better defense that they were facing. I expect Nico to get a lot more work. Nico and Ladd are the best pay-up options on this slate, obviously. Either one you can make cases for. Mike Evans, 27% owned versus the Texans. You need to at least consider him. He has giant upside. Didn't get it done in week 1, but still had 8 targets. We know he is just a touchdown merchant, can always get into the end zone, and therefore you need to consider. On the Houston side of the ball, I wanted to talk about one thing. I like Ogun receiving yards, 40 plus. I'm assuming you're talking about Dar there. 40 plus is high. Plus 1,600 though. I guess it definitely makes sense. With Mixon out, he went over 47 versus the Jags, 57 versus the Bills, and TB ranks allowing receiving yards. Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. The one issue there is how much is he going to be on the field? Dare was only on 27% of the snaps last week. I don't think he's going to have a much bigger workload unless they get down. Then he's probably going to be out there a lot because we know Chubb, that is not one of the things he is very good at, is being a receiving back. So I think there is a path to Dare really being involved, but it is kind of game script dependent. I don't mind that bet though. Plus 1,600 is a lot. You're talking about 16 to 1. So while it is a long shot, there's definitely pass. I don't hate it, Reek. So getting back to these Houston pass catchers, we have Nico Collins, and then you have Jaden Higgins, rookie, Jalen Noel, rookie. Both didn't play very much last week. Higgins was only in like 40% of the routes, or 41% of the snaps. Xavier Hutchinson at 3,200 was the guy that had the most or the second most snaps on the Texans for wide receivers, and he was at like 68%. After him, Justin Watson. I think you have to consider both of these guys at very cheap prices just due to how much they're out there, and that Nico Collins is likely to be double teamed every single time he runs a route, just because you got to go to a prove it standpoint. I think if you're a defense versus the Texans, like, make somebody else other than Nico beat you. And I don't necessarily know if these guys can. While Jaden Higgins is a very good prospect, it is his second game in the NFL. You can't really expect huge output, especially when he's fourth in the pecking order for snaps. Trey Tucker, Dante Thornton, both going to be out a ton and should consider them as well. On the tight end aspect, Dalton Schultz is coming in our highest owned tight end. This is likely because Cade Stover, who he pretty much split work with last week, is on the IR. With that, I think a lot of people think he's going to just run the show here on tight end, but do not forget about Harrison Bryant, 2,500. I don't know if they are, if they fully are bought into Dalton Schultz. There is definitely a chance that Harrison Bryant can come in, take 40-50% of the work, and at 2,500 be an absolute steal for you if he gets in the end zone. He is likely going to be optimal, and he can do it. He is very capable. Cade Otton, 3,500. He's going to run a ton of routes, and Tampa Bay has Ibuka, they have Evans, and then not much else. I think you can go there. It's just that he's not a great target earner unless he's, one of the first, second options, and he's not going to be that. He's really the fourth, so hard to really, really want to go to Cade. I think it makes more sense to go to Dalton, Brock, or one of the pivots we'll talk about. Now, Brock Bowers. If he's playing, I think you got to play him. There's plenty of value at the receiver spot to just pay up for Brock Bowers. And this is a guy that could end up having a stat line better than any of the WR1s. So I think Brock Bowers kind of, if his ownership is a little lower because people are scared about that injury, I think you kind of just got to hammer him and hope he gets one of his ceiling outcomes. And then the other tight ends don't even matter. Pivot wise, Michael Mayer, you got to consider if Brock Bowers is injured or on any sort of snap count. He makes a ton of sense. He's solid. Tyler Conklin, 2,900, 2 targets for 50 yards, had a carry, definitely was used in a wide variety of ways last week, and he is their receiving tight end at 2,900. Makes some sense. Herbert's too good of a quarterback not to consider his big tight end option or big end zone option there. Now, getting into D's, this is a tough one. I think Chargers and Bucks should definitely lead the way here for as far as matchups and all that. Ali, Bucks O-line is not healthy. Wirfs is still unlikely to play. Thanks for pointing that out. So I think we got to wait another week or a few weeks for Tristan Wirfs to get back out there. But yeah, D is going to be a bit of a toss-up. I think on paper, it's pretty clear that the Bucks or the Chargers are likely in the better spots for defense, but don't overlook that Texans D. It was solid last week, and Tampa Bay likely is going to have to throw a lot, which just leads to chances for interceptions and sacks and all that good stuff, especially with their offensive line a little bit banged up. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back shortly with NFL props, and then we also have MLB. I'm going to do the baseball props and DFS show just together today, And so that just limits the amount of reposting and whatnot I got to do. Also, the DFS, when football is playing, just doesn't get as much love. That's going to do it for you guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And we will be back shortly with NFL props. Talk to y'all later. Peace.